Hi, I'm Dolly Vasta, and welcome to our brand new series, Dolly's World. We're going to be doing a lot of things in this new series. Not only are we going to be covering the arts, which has always been my special love, but, some medical things, animal things, all kinds of different subjects that have interested me for years. But I thought we'd start out with one of my favorite subjects, and that's comedy, because I've always believed there is absolutely humor in everything. So my guest today is a very young comedian, Dana Eagle. Dana, it's so much fun to have you here. I've read all about you.
Thank you.
And I was looking forward to interviewing you. It seems we've been trying to get together for the longest time.
I know. Well, it's been quite an extraordinary few months, and I've actually done more interviews and talked about myself more than even I want to hear about in the past few months.
So my first question to you is really why? Why stand-up comedy? It's such a tough field for a woman.
It's fun. It's really, it's just as much fun as it looks like. It's kind of, edgy, and there's a lot of nerves involved. But I began acting when I was 10, and then probably throughout 15 years just did everything within that world. Did musical theater, I did some broadcast, I interned here at Channel 8, and then I was on tour with a musical and in the only non-singing role, and the company said, you know what, you can't sing and you're really obnoxious to be on a bus with. Go try stand-up comedy. And so I was thinking about it when I got home, and there was a workshop, and so I signed up for the workshop and I took it. And after like 15 years of performing, I just knew that this was it. This is it. It just clicked for me, and right from there on in, and that was about two years ago or 2.5 years ago, and life's just been wonderful.
Has it changed your life a lot?
Yeah, the past few months have been extraordinary, but before that, I've always led a different life. I've always been temping and going to classes and performing at night, whereas most of my friends have regular, steady jobs and health insurance, and so I've always had a little bit of a different life anyway, which I value. And then in the past few months, being seen by different people and going in for excellent auditions, and that's been a head trip. So,
how do you like auditioning?
How do I like auditioning? It's something you have to grow to like. It's really important that you learn to like it, that you take it as your moments to show yourself that you trust that everyone there wants you to do well. It's surprising. It's not like an acting class. It's not get into the character. Sometimes you rarely even have a moment. They just bring you in. My first big audition, I was shocked because the reader, they give you the copy and the reader just reads so quickly, and it's just flat and fast, and you better just imagine it not being somebody flat and fast. It's up to you to make up for everything else that's not there. But I like it. I've liked it very much.
Now, you do your own brand of humor.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about it. I've seen the tape, but
I'm finding my way into new things. I think when I started out, like a lot of comedians, you sort of make fun of things in the news, things you see on TV commercials, and now my humor is becoming more about me and things that are particular just to me. And that's kind of the goal, to kind of develop as a whole person, be somebody that can't be replaced.
I grew up as a latchkey kid. Now, you know what that is, right? It's like a legal term for neglect. When I was growing up, we didn't have all of these things like the beepers and the cell phones, the answering machine. I was my parents' answering machine. Hello? My mom is in here right now. She's in the shower. That was our elaborate security system. When will she be out of the shower? Around 11 p.m. She's very dirty. So for the new year, I decided I want to be cool. And I told this to my friends, and they said, you're going to have to work on that. And they suggested that I begin with a list of all the reasons why I'm not cool, and then we can address them. I brought this list here with me tonight, as long as Snickers wrapper also. Reasons why I'm not cool. Number 1, my sweater. I'm not cool. And it's hot too, so. Reason number 2 why I'm not cool. I was in the special ed gym class. Now I can explain this one. I walk in one day and they say, today we are going to take the physical fitness challenge. Now what that means is, girls, you are going to hold your head above a bar for 10 seconds. I saw girls like that, and then they were just dropping like flies. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm going to hit my chin. They said, well, if you don't do it, then you're going to have to go into a special class where you play ping pong all day. And I said, I don't care. I'll go play ping pong all day. Number 3, I'm a very good ping pong ball player. And the last reason why I'm not cool is I actually typed up the reasons why I'm not cool. Saved it on my hard drive, ran it through spell check before I printed it out, and then I left the whole damn list at home and had to rewrite it here. I'm Jewish. Thanks. And you know, always, L'chaim. And always around the holidays, Christian people always come up to me and they always say the same thing. They always say, yeah, you know, but you've got that 8 nights of Hanukkah. Can I just explain something to my Christian friends here, okay? You people have one day of enormous amounts of expensive gifts. We got 8 nights of cheap shit. I remember one year on the first night, opening night, I got a pencil. On the second night, I got the eraser. On the last night, they handed me their taxes.
You know, a lot of people say, think of it like a sitcom. What would your sitcom be about? But really, I just focus on my life and what my life's about. I really focus a lot on my insecurities, the things that I screw up on, which are many things. And rather than trying to hide my faults or conceal my faults, which is a lot of what I did when I was acting, you know, just going in there and trying to act like I was perfect. Now, I trip and I acknowledge it. So that's what it's become about.
Well, acting is really taking on the guise of another character.
Right.
And if you're doing comedy, and as we talked before, I've done a little bit of stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Stand-up, you're really very exposed.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like being on stage nude.
Right.
Because you can't hide.
Right.
There's nothing to hide behind. So when you take your comedy and you really know what you're talking about and know your subject thoroughly,
Right.
then it's easy to be funny about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, I find that the key is to not try to be funny. The key is to go with whatever the emotional tone of it is. So if you're acting angry about something or bewildered, it's really stick with the emotion, because a lot of times, I know a lot of people don't know this, but we're doing the same material over and over again. You're trying to build your time, and so I'll do 10 jokes one week, maybe throw in a few new jokes the next week, but then when I have an important show to do, I pull out my best 5 minutes and I put that together. So it's hard to not make everything get stale, to really be able to keep that material alive all the time.
I once read that it is hard to keep an audience's attention if you are doing stand-up comedy for more than 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you find that true? And I can't figure out why. Why is it? Because all of a sudden you get beyond that point and you're not funny any longer, or the audience doesn't think you're funny?
It's given, I think a lot of it, somebody who I know who's in comedy attributes it all to the remote control. And the fact that we watch things now for 2 seconds and then we flip if it doesn't interest us. And so it's kind of the same thing in comedy. We want to see something new. Even if we get to like someone, we get bored very easy now in our culture. The joke better come quickly, and it better sustain itself or heighten itself. And if it's just the same thing, if it doesn't build, then you just sort of lose people. They're just ready to see what's next.
Do you have any favorites?
Comedians?
Comedians, yeah. That are hot today.
My favorite right now is Eddie Izzard, and he's a British transvestite comic, and he's extremely clever, and he talks a lot about the Bible and history, and has a style that's very unorthodox, and he's just fabulous. And the person that I originally saw who I think more inspired me was Paul Poundstone. Because really, when comedy was really hot, she was definitely one of the only women that I saw, and also the only woman who, very similar to me, is not, it's not the sex jokes and the swearing jokes, and it's just really all around in good fun humor, which is just, it's closer to what it is I do. I don't have a judgment one way or the other. Funny is funny is funny, but it's just closer to what I do and what I see myself doing.
Being unemployed, you become keenly aware how often people ask the question, what do you do? At parties, my parents' house, filling out the credit card application. The woman said, what do you do? I said, nothing. She said, what are you going to pay for this with? I said, credit, duh. Banking is a big problem when you're unemployed, as you can imagine. Basically, at this point, it costs me more to make a transaction than I even have to begin with. Because my $1.97 doesn't come out of the ATM machine. So just to f around, I transferred it. Costs $2. Bank calls, says that they're out 3 cents. I said, well, yeah, now see how it feels. Not so good. I thought maybe I could get some sponsorship for my activities, so I contacted the Feed the Children program about setting up a special commercial campaign just for me, like this. Do you see this grown woman? She needs your help. Just $30 a day will provide her with cab fare, a long-distance calling plan, internet service. Each month, you'll receive photos of your immature adult, watching television, rollerblading, going to the ATM. I don't understand what it is some people do with their money, because like these friends of mine, they just took all their money and they went to Europe to go see the Tour de France. This is a bike race. I don't understand this. I don't get it. What are you gonna see? What are you gonna do? This is not a spectator sport. Oh, look, here they come. So, what do you want to do now? I did recently get the opportunity to go see the Indigo Girls. Are you guys familiar with the Indigo Girls? All right. Because in Bristol, Pennsylvania, they didn't know, and I had to explain to them. It's like Melissa Etheridge, except there's two. Nothing. They weren't. I was like Katie Lang, and nothing. So, but I got to go see the Indigo Girls, and Madison Square Garden sends me this letter saying, "Dear Indigo Girls fan," and they go on to invite me to an entire season of the WNBA. Women's basketball. I just thought that this was a rash generalization. They might as well have written, P.S. Our condolences to you and your girlfriend on the cancellation of Ellen.
What about audiences? Do they change throughout the country? Now you've traveled.
Yes.
We had someone here one day that I was interviewing, and he said that New York audiences were far different than Jersey audiences. Do you find that so?
Yeah, I mean, New York, I mean, and not to be a snob or anything like that, but their sensibility is a lot more sophisticated. And probably just because they're, the people that are constantly exposed to the arts, most of them are in the arts. And so they're seeing these things all the time. So it better be new. If it's something that they've seen before, it doesn't matter if it's funny. It's got to be new. It's got to be cutting edge. When I leave the city, recently, like when I was in Pennsylvania, if I start doing jokes about the Jewish culture, they're not... It's not a big Jewish population. They're not going to get it as much.
Yes, it's hard to get laughs in Amish country.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, they do. They change a lot. But I think for me, the goal is don't ever put it on the audience. Don't, make it their responsibility. It's your job to be able to be funny for everyone. And for a lot of times that means leaving my material and then just going with whatever's in the room and hoping that works out. And sometimes it does, and sometimes you bomb.
What do you do when you bomb? How do you handle it? I mean, it's a horrible feeling.
It is.
I've been there,
It hurts.
And what do you do?
I used to mourn, but you don't anymore.
Cry a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, you just have to recognize it as important, and it's just as important to bomb as it is to do well. I mean, I know it sounds horrible, but it really is. And I think one of the most important things is taping yourself or videotaping yourself, and really you can see the difference between the two of them. One time when I bombed at a big club for had to be about 200 or more people. And I didn't want to go up again that week. And then I happened to have already had something booked at a restaurant. And then I did great at the restaurant. So I guess it's just, you sort of keep going, and you put it out of your head. And then a lot of my stuff I do, and then I'll just go back and reevaluate it later. So
I think the biggest key is something you said, is that you have to put it out of your head.
Yeah.
And go on. It's like someone in the Olympics, a skater.
Right.
And you see them take these terrible falls.
Right.
And you wonder, how can they put it out of their head? And this dodo announcer is saying, now if they can put that out of their head after they've just smashed into a wall,
Right.
but somehow they really do have to refocus.
Yeah. Well, one thing is, like, sometimes before I have a big show, I'll stick in a tape, and it certainly won't be the tape of when I bombed. But I'll sit and I'll watch a tape of when I did well. Or a lot of times what I'll do is I won't even make it about me. I'll sit and I'll listen to another comedian. And again, it's just really driving what you're doing with the emotion and not worrying about the laughs. Leave, the laughs behind. It should all be about, I have something to say. It's not, give me a laugh. It's, I have something to say and I want you to hear it, and I think you'll like it. And so I think it's just being true to that.
When you write your own material, some comedians, and when I wrote stuff myself, oftentimes, as I said at the beginning of the show, I think humor is the key to everything. And no matter how sad and how tragic anything is, there's always a little thread of humor that is running through it.
What it's about, I think it's about the truth. I think that's what comedy is really about. And it is, and it's it's about truth and it's about pain. And it's sort of being able to just deal with those things, but deal with it in a way that makes you laugh, and obviously. So, like last week I had this audition that I had to go into, and it was, pouring rain, and it was just horrible. It was at the end of the day, and I had a lot of copy to memorize, and I went in, and I was really upset because my hair, I have naturally curly hair, and the whole thing just frizzed, and I felt like I looked like a dork, and it was sort of bringing me down. But then when I did the audition and I did the copy. At the end of the audition, I looked at the camera and I said, "This is Brainy Daney for On To Music. I'm sorry about my hair." And, you know, that just seemed to have diffused it there. So it's kind of, again, it's not about burying it. It's about saying, you know what, this is how it is. And
This is me.
right, that's what
If
it's
you like
about.
it, hire me.
Exactly.
If not, say next.
Yeah, and you really lose, I think the greatest gift that comedy gives you is kind of losing that need to impress people, of saying things to impress people. At one of my first interviews that I did for a television station, it was what they call a meet and greet. And it's just to see what kind of programs they will consider you for and bring you in for. And one of the first things she asked me was, "What's your goal? What do you want?" And I said, and I thought it was for the Oprah station. So I thought I'd impress them, and I was like, "Oh, I want an empire." And I felt like an idiot afterwards. But then I had a few more of those, and then the next time I was in one of those and they said, "What do you want?" I just said, "I want health insurance." And that was the truth. And so it kind of, so once you lose that idea of what is it that they want to hear, as opposed to what is it that I have to say, I think that brings you closer to where you need to be.
And with that in mind, I know you have projects that are coming up.
Yeah.
What are they?
I taped a show called Premium Blend for Comedy Central. And that's actually supposed to be on late January, and then we'll see if they repeat it. It's supposed to be on twice. And I just did 2 test pilots for the new Oprah station, Oxygen Media. And just found out that we're going to be picked up, and I'll be taping for that every Thursday. And that's going to be on, I don't know which areas it's going to be on because they're testing the station.
The test market?
So not every, like, I know I'm not going to have it in New York City, but like Westchester is going to have it. So, and for that I'm doing things, I'm with 3 other girls, and we review film and music and video, and then they've tied me in on their internet site too, because that's the big thing about this station, is that it's, is they really want to be the type of program that reaches out to people. It's supposed to be, the whole station's supposed to be kind of like the Oprah Winfrey program, where it's change your life television, and where they feel as though they're really contributing to the community. So you can actually go online, and I'm going to have a site within Girls On, within Oxygen. You go to Girls On, and then my username is Dana is Cool, and so you could find my music and television and film reviews there too. So.
And who knows? You might eventually end up on one of the new series. It seems to me that so many of the stand-up comics are being used.
Yeah, well, they really go for the stand-up comics because when they have the comics, they have the character there. They don't have, it kind of, it really adds to whatever it is a good writer has done. And so they really look for that. Right now, being in New York, there's not as much because there's only about 3 series that film in New York as opposed to the 50 that tape in LA. So it would require a move if that's the direction that I wanted to go in. I'm starting to be seen by the networks, but haven't landed any particular project yet, and nor has anyone come up that has my name on it. So.
But you'll be ready when they do.
Yes, from your mouth to God's ears. Yeah.
Right. Well, it has been absolutely wonderful
Thank
doing
you.
this interview. I look forward
Thanks.
to talking to you. I love talking to people who are in the business, and especially those who are starting out. We've been very lucky, the show, as I said before to you. We've had so many young authors and comedians and actors and directors on, and it seems after they leave us, they just go on to big things and then totally forget all about us here.
Oh,
So-
excellent.
So may it happen to you also.
Well, and I actually have a website too.
Oh, you have a
Actually. Yeah,
website.
you can
Okay,
look up
quick.
my schedule.
All right, quick
You
tip.
go to comedy.com, www.comedy.com. You can either do a comedian search or comedy.com/Dana is Cool. And then that'll bring you right to my site
Okay, Dana's cool.
and my schedule too. So.
I'll see all of you out there next month. In the meantime, take care.
My dad doesn't like my working attitude. He always gets so mad. And finally, the other day, he just lost it with me. He just goes, you know, you're really great. You only hear what it is you want to hear. I was like, I am really great, aren't I?